Good morning, everyone, and happy Saturday. How's everybody doing this morning?
Great.
Morning.
Yay!
Good
Good
morning.
Good to
morning.
see you.
Good to see
All
everybody.
right. Well, we are not in the last Saturday of the year, but we are flirting with it. I guess next Saturday will be that. And but we are, as David Dassow reminded us just in the preamble, here in Michigan, we are getting closer to having days of more daylight. So we can look forward to that. But we are getting going on our Voices of Health Point Saturday walk and talk. For those that are new, this is where we gather together live, or there's an option to be live from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And then for those that can't or won't choose to be here live, these episodes do get uploaded onto YouTube under Voices of Health Point. So we typically have some docket items that we get rolling with, and then we just kind of open it up to round robin discussion on all things Health Point and this marvelous 6-week cycle. I've got a docket item that I'm titling Embrace the Gate, and I guess I'll probably lead off with that. And then we've got Kathy Munoz, our step queen, that has kind of an unpacking of a quote, words of walking wisdom. And nobody better than our step queen to talk on that item for sure. And then we have Debbie that is going to unpack some insights from an endocrinologist on GLP-1. So we definitely have some fun and packed insights that are going to be coming at us here on this episode. So let's go ahead and get started and get through my docket item. First, I want to share that the content shared here is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. Our discussions draw on wellness concepts similar to those found in the HealthPointe methodology, which we hold in high regard. The ideas presented are independently developed and do not represent or speak on behalf of the HealthPointe brand. Okay, with that, let me get into embrace the gate. Change is hard. We've all heard that quote, right? It's a phrase we repeat constantly. We say it to comfort our friends. We say it to excuse our slip-ups. We say it when we stare at the ceiling at 2 a.m. wondering why we can't do the thing we know is good for us. We know that it is hard, but very few of us understand why. We tend to think change is hard because of a lack of willpower or a character flaw, or because we just aren't disciplined enough. But what if the difficulty isn't moral? What if it's mechanical? What if hard is actually a specific chemical event happening inside your skull? To succeed in your health journey, we need to move past the cliches and look at the biology. We need to understand exactly what is happening chemically when you try to change your life. We also need to have an honest conversation about the HealthPointe 6-week cycle. We need to be clear on what you might be feeling. In fact, as you will learn here, what you should be feeling. You won't feel it forever, but you might feel it as you are considering the program, wrestling with the fear of starting. If you push past that and jump in, you might feel it in week 2 or week 3 or of your first cycle when the quote unquote honeymoon phase wears off. You will likely even feel it in your second cycle as you deepen your metabolic flexibility. It often manifests as an irritation. You might feel a spike of visceral frustration when the smell of pizza fills the room on a Friday night and you realize you aren't grabbing a slice. You might feel a heavy mental resistance when it's time to prep your foods or your supplements for the week. You might feel a sense of agitation that makes you think, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe this is too hard. The overall wellness industry tends to do a massive disservice here. They market health as something that should be 100% effortless. They sell the idea of flow and tell you that if you just find the right plan, it will feel natural and easy immediately. But according to the latest neuroscience, specifically discussed in a recent dialogue between Dr. Martin Picard and Dr. Andrew Huberman, that feeling of irritation not only is a sign that things aren't going wrong, is actually a biological requirement for things to go right. To understand why change feels hard, we have to look at neuroplasticity. This is your brain's ability to rewire itself, to delete old habits and build new ones. We all have these deep grooves in our brain. It's hitting that morning drive-through for a sugary frappuccino because that's just what the car does at 8 a.m. It's doom scrolling on social media when you're anxious, or it's pouring that alcohol every evening just to wind down. We used to think the brain changed by repetition, but that's not the entire picture. The brain is an efficiency machine. It loves to run on autopilot. It does not want to change its wiring because change consumes massive amounts of energy. In fact, your brain will fight dirty to stay in its comfort zone. It gets incredibly clever. It doesn't just make you feel tired, it tells you lies. It creates perfectly logical narratives like, you've just had a stressful week. You deserve this treat just for today. It's raining. You can't possibly get your steps in. You'll get sick. This HealthPointe metabolic flexibility stuff is great, but maybe we start next month when life is calmer. It sounds like wisdom. It sounds like logic, but it is actually just your biology trying desperately to save a calorie of energy by keeping you exactly where you are. So what triggers the brain to finally unlock its circuits and ignore those clever lies? The brain changes when there is a mismatch between what it expects and what actually happens. When you try to do something new and it feels different, when you experience what's called limbic friction, your brain wakes up. We all have felt this friction, even outside of health. Think about the last time you tried to learn anything new, maybe a new language, or even just tried to brush your teeth with that non-dominant hand. It feels wrong. It feels clumsy. You feel a weird low-grade annoyance. That isn't just an emotion. This is a chemical event. When you hit that wall of friction, your brain releases a specific cocktail of neurochemicals. The most important one is norepinephrine. This is essentially adrenaline for the brain. It creates a sense of agitation and alertness. It says, hey, something is different here. Pay attention. Alongside it comes acetylcholine, which acts like a spotlight, narrowing your focus on the specific circuit you are trying to change. Here is the reality of the science, and it can be really helpful if you understand this. That feeling of agitation is simply the norepinephrine. That feeling of frustration is a chemical signal necessary for change. That feeling of mental itchiness is the marker you are actually looking for. You cannot separate the learning from friction. If you are entirely comfortable, your brain is releasing dopamine and serotonin, chemicals of satisfaction. These are great chemicals, but they are not chemicals of change. But if you are feeling irritated, frustrated, or mentally agitated, you have successfully triggered the release of chemicals required to mark the neurons for an upgrade. This is good. This is necessary. This is exactly what we want to happen. Dr. Huberman describes this friction as the gate that you must pass through. When HealthPointe clients say, quote, I'm really struggling to stick to the plan this week. I feel so agitated. Our instinct is to comfort them. But the scientifically accurate response is, great, you have arrived. You've arrived at the gate. You have engaged the friction. You have signaled to your nervous system that the old way of operating is no longer sufficient. This is crucial for our 6-week cycle HealthPointe model. What are we actually doing in these 6 weeks? We aren't just looking to lose weight on a scale. We are changing our biology. We are doing the hard work of developing metabolic flexibility. We are switching our fuel sources. For years, your body might have only been burning glucose for fuel. It may have never switched over to burning fat. That switch is a massive biological event. We are retraining the basal ganglia, the primal habit center of your brain, to stop automating the fast food drive-through and start automating the weekly meal prep. We are working to automate chopping the vegetables, prepping the proteins, and packing the snacks. That is a massive request for our bodies. And the price for admission for that request is a temporary period of high friction. So why do so many people quit when the magic is about to happen because they misinterpret the signal. They feel the friction, that norepinephrine, and interpret it as stress or this isn't for me. They think my body is rejecting this. In reality, your body isn't rejecting the health improvement. It's simply negotiating the energy cost of this upgrade. There is a gap between the trigger, which is that friction and irritation, and the rewiring, which is this new habit formation. So you have the, whatever it is, the workout, the discipline, that's the trigger. This is where you feel the agitation. And then as we'll talk about in sleep and rest, this is where the rewiring happens. If you quit the moment you feel the friction, you never get to the rewiring phase. You suffer the irritation without getting the upgrade. Knowing this science changes how we approach the HealthPointe program. Here are 3 simple points of a new protocol when things get hard. Number 1, reframe the agitation. When you feel that urge to snap at your spouse or abandon the plan because it feels, quote, too hard, stop. Catch that internal voice trying to negotiate a way out. Smile at it and say, that's just my norepinephrine getting sassy with me. It's not a character flaw, it's chemistry. Number 2, lean into the air. If you slip up or if you find a specific habit incredibly difficult, that is the error signal your brain needs. Do not hide from it. That specific point of difficulty is exactly where growth is located. You need the error to trigger the plasticity. In other words, you need that error in order to trigger the plasticity. And lastly, number 3, use NSDR, which is non-sleep deep rest, to calm the system and prioritize sleep. You need to allow for periods of recovery. You cannot white knuckle your way through metabolic change forever. During the day, you can use non-sleep deep rest. This is a tool like box breathing or just 10 minutes of calmness where you stay awake but deeply relax the body. This helps lower those agitation chemicals such as norepinephrine so you don't burn out. And then at night, prioritize high quality sleep. The friction marks the neurons for change, but the actual rewiring happens while you sleep. So we started by saying change is hard. Now you know that this isn't just a tired cliche, it is a biological confirmation. That difficulty is not a sign of failure. It is a receipt that you are paying the tax required for transformation. At HealthPointe, we value the science of reality over the marketing of ease. We know that the friction you feel is simply the evidence the work is getting done. So the next time you feel that resistance, that mental friction telling you to go back to the old, easy ways, don't retreat. That feeling is the sound of the gate opening. So walk through it. All right, guys, that is my docket item on embrace the gate. For those that are unmuted or choose to unmute, have any comments, questions, go ahead and we'll riff on this a bit. And if not, we'll move on through our docket items. Probably Kathy, probably you next if you're ready on that.
Well, Eric,
first of all, go ahead, Debbie.
I really enjoyed that article, and I personally can see the transition that I went through because I've shared before how I would tend to, when I'm frustrated, I would binge eat, or there's no stop button. You would start eating something. And that has eased over the months that I've been on the program. And I think probably for me, it probably might take longer because of, so many years of that bad habit. But the new habit is being established because I stopped myself and said, what do I really want? And that stopped me in the moment. And I just ate the right portion instead of continuing to eat because I was frustrated over something.
Boy, that you hit on something, Debbie, that I think only 99.9% of the people could probably relate to. I'm sure there's a 0.01% that can't relate to that, kind of soothing ourselves, maybe,
Yes,
where.
exactly.
Hmm. And I love how you make note of it. Um, because it's in that recognition and kind of making note of it and identifying it, like you're saying that you did, that you kind of can kind of call it out a little bit and then leave the room for making another choice. But
Correct.
yeah, wow,
Eric, Eric,
yes,
yeah, this is Jerry, and I just wanted to say that was really great. I really appreciate it, and my background is always my head is thinking, well, I would love to hear that idea, just not just specifically for HealthPointe, but what we're talking, the broader context would be goal setting in itself, whether we're talking about business or building our businesses or whatever it might be. I just think that the scientific approach to goal setting, uh, I mean, I love the talk and would love to have that explored more at times, from sometime from a goal setting standpoint.
I love that, Jerry, and I think we all probably agree with that, and just and it also, I think, points to something that where maybe you guys agree with this. I've certainly found this to be the case with myself, and then also with other people. HealthPointe is a change developing tool. I mean, when somebody successfully does HealthPointe, to your point, Jerry, you've learned these skills. You're learning these skills. You're applying these skills in a very, you know, difficult arena for many people. And when you successfully kind of rewire, we get into the science here, and you experience that norepinephrine, and you move through that, and your brain rewires, and you get to this grace state where it's like, this is now easy. This used to be hard. Now this is a new me. We talk about the mindset. Then you start looking at where can I think if I went after this, I feel like I have the skills. I'm more confident that I can go after that. So to your point, Jerry, to be able to apply this to the broader context of goal setting writ large, and then specific areas of our business building, couldn't agree more with you. That's a fantastic point. Thank you so much.
I
Eric,
agree. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, just a quick statement. Stepping out of your comfort zone is what it boils down to, doesn't it? Stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yes. Yep. For sure. And yeah, that's it in a nutshell, for sure.
Well,
Thank
that's
you.
why Hank and I have been successfully married for 62 years, because that is exactly the point. Is when you can do it. The two areas that really hit me as you were reading that article was, one, the lifetime maintenance, because up until then you've been in high school, grade school and high school, and now you're in college and you have to kind of run your own show, so to speak. And so having those things, just understanding those things to be successfully getting into lifetime maintenance and staying at your weight is a huge, huge college degree certification, whatever you want to call it, in and of itself. But the thing that Hank and Jerry just brought out about the other thing that came to my mind right away was we're at the end of the year now, and our emphasis is to really help those of us that have even been in only one cycle to start talking to other people about it and paying it forward and getting them in front of a coach and taking that extra step to help and reach out to other people. Those are very scary things, very scary things. And when we first started building our business, the scariest thing was to open our mouths and to start talking to people. And so these are things that we have to overcome. And I think that article brings it out so beautifully in all of the arenas of HealthPointe, but not only just in the weight loss and establishment of habits, but also in the long-term building habits strong and solid into our whole psyche, and then reaching out and sharing this with the help of your coach to other people. And so this is a marvelous article, and I agree so much with all of you that it hits all arenas of HealthPointe or business building, be it just general business building or anything in life, but also in the HealthPointe arena in all areas. So thanks, Eric. This article is fabulous.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um,
And
okay.
Eric, I just want to say this may be the most famous one you've ever done. This is going to be as famous as an orange dot. We're going to be saying to people, "Hey, you're going through the gate. It's okay." And so the gate is a good thing to be going through, and we're going to refer them to this. I'm not sure what the number of this episode is for HealthPointe, but we should know so that we can refer people to this, because that gate is just growth. It's just growth. And that's what we all have to do. As Carol said, whether it's 62 years of marriage or the business or HealthPointe, and that's life. That is absolutely life. And I really appreciate this today.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Sharon. The concept just resonated with me. And for the record, I think we're up around one. Yeah, this will be 121, episode 121.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, just embracing the gate. You feel the gate. Great. That's awesome.
Can we start dotting these? We had the orange dots on HealthPointe. Can we have the blue dots on Voices of HealthPointe or something where we can identify and refer to something if we're talking about a topic?
I think so. Right.
Great
Right.
idea, Carol. Great idea.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're so marvelous, but then when you go to want to review it or review it and send it to somebody else, or have somebody else listen to it, then you got to find it, and it's in this sea of wonderful, wonderful material. So yeah, let's maybe get a blue dot program going or red
All
dot or
right.
no, green dot. That means go. Green, go.
Green dot. All right.
Hey, Eric.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question for the novice on YouTube. So if you go into the search, can you put Voices of HealthPointe episode 121 and be able to locate that specific one? Is it set up that way to do that?
It's a great question. I don't know if anybody else on here knows. I've never tried that. If you go to Voices of HealthPointe and click on, it'll say like videos, playlist. There are a couple of options there. If you click on videos, it's going to show all the chronological release of the episodes. So this one would be at the top. And then I know if you go into playlist, you can look for Saturday Walk and Talk, and that will have all episodes of these Saturday Walk and Talks. And that's a good question. If you search based on that orange dot number or that green dot number, a good question, Pam. I'm not sure, but I can experiment. I should experiment with that because it would help everybody with search. The other thing I think I can do too is, you can tag things. We've all seen the hashtags on social media and stuff like that. And there might be a way to hashtag it. So if I put that in as the episode, that would take care of that.
Because
So
what I was just doing is putting like episode number on my kitchen calendar. So I just went over and put 121 on my kitchen calendar so that at least for temporarily, I'll remember which number it is if I wanted to share that. So anyway,
yeah, yeah. No, that's a good point. And a big thing that I would like to see more ability, and I think we're hearing it right now with what you're saying, Pam, too. Even in the orange dots, how do we remember like things with orange dot? Well, we rely on Kathy mostly, that remembers where they're at. Oh, this was orange dot number 10 or something. And for those that are new to the program, we're referring to the HealthPointe app and the daily messages. And there's 89 audios in there. And we hear these episodes in there, and then we're 3 weeks later, 2 months later, we're wondering, gosh, where was that at? I want to reference that for some reason. And what I would like to be able to do is something that some of you might be familiar with in terms of searching in general on systems is you can, if you just remember anything about the subject matter, I would love to be able to search that. Let's say we remember the gate, or somebody that is particularly geeky maybe remembers norepinephrine or something like that. You just type that in and it'll pull up all episodes related to that topic. Whether it be on the HealthPointe app, on the daily messages, or whether it be on the Voices of HealthPointe on YouTube. So that's something that I would enjoy, because isn't that the way most of us remember it? We're, like I said, 5 months from now, we're like, oh, I was thinking about that episode and that topic. And maybe there's a way that we can do that, and do that without too much more work for creating. Obviously, we can hire uh, an engineer to do that, but do it in some way that's pretty simple to execute on. So, but in the meantime, I love the method of just writing it on your refrigerator, Pam. That's the other way. Okay,
That's
well,
why they invented Post-it notes.
Another
true.
another simple thing to do is we probably have the reminder in our appointments in our calendar. After the episode, while it's still fresh in our mind, we can just do slash. I'm not a hashtag person, so I would just do slash change, or something of that topic, so that it's another way to go back, and you can think, oh gosh, within the last few months. Well, you can go back for um, Saturday morning sessions and see the topic as you remembered it.
Hmm.
For referral too. Sometimes that might help too.
Right. And something that just I'll remind everyone, one thing that I do on the Voices of HealthPointe is most of us remember things visually. And so if you'll notice that the cover image for the episode, I try to have an image that would trigger, remembering. And of course, there's a short title in there as well. So like, for example, the image on this one might be a gate. I don't know, I haven't created it yet, but it might be a gate. But if we're doing a subject on walking, it might be an image of people walking. If we're doing a segment on gut health, it might be a human being showing their microbiome, their midsection of their body. So what that means is if you're on those episodes and you're scrolling, looking like, ooh, what episode is it? It's not just reading the text and trying to figure it out. You'll images, you see a gate. Oh, that's probably one on episode 121, Embrace the Gate. So I do try to do that visually. They don't do that yet on the orange dots. There's no visual representation, but that's fine. The other thing too is, just the power of the community. I think we have, like in our WhatsApp group, if somebody gives a shout out like, "Ooh, does anybody have a recipe for this?" Or does anybody remember what episode it was on such and such a topic? That's the wonderful power of this community is, we we help each other out. And somebody undoubtedly is going to remember that information or help out on that. So we can lean into that as well and count on one another.
You know, Eric, you were talking about the WhatsApp group, and I'm glad you brought that up because the WhatsApp audio club that we started, that is a great platform for people to leave a recommendation of an audio they just listened to, or hey, you know, blah, 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 messages that more and more people can be. I believe you have to be invited into the app. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
So just reach out to your coach and say, I'd like to be on that, and it'll happen, I'm sure.
I think we can bring more life to that because it's already set up and it's already happened in other instances. And I'm thinking, wow, if we just kept this going, that could be reminders to people. It could be just real quickie thoughts, or hey, I listened to this. If you know, have this situation, I just listened to this. It's just thoughts that come from the community that the community can reap the benefits of. I don't know if that's feasible or if it'd be overpowering, but we already have a platform there.
Yeah.
Carol,
Yeah.
your video is not on, Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. They don't need to see me.
Okay. Jim, Jim's got his hand raised. Jim, are you there? Or you've got your hand raised. So if and when that was purposeful that you got your hand raised, go ahead and unmute and come on and speak. But there's Jim. Can't hear you. It doesn't look like you're muted, but can't hear anything. If and when you get, I think I just heard something. Try again.
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you now. Yes. Good morning,
Okay.
Jim.
Good morning, Eric. I was playing with it. So if you go into YouTube and you put in the search bar, you put basically Voices of HealthPointe, and then you finish it with whatever session you want to listen to. So if it's like 114, 120, it'll actually pull that directly up.
Nice.
So
yay, YouTube, and yay, Jim. Thanks for looking into that. That's better than I thought.
yeah.
So
yeah, if you just put the Voices of HealthPointe and then whatever session you want to listen to, if you put that in, bring it up.
Channel for Dropbox, but I
Say
deleted.
that again?
I got new
Yep.
channel for
Elba,
Dropbox,
we've
but I
got
deleted
some
but I canceled the subscription right now, so I can't overcharge.
let me just sorry guys, just handling a hot mic there. But Jim, circling back to you, that's great. So I can't remember who asked I think Pam, you were asking the question originally. Now, Pam, still think you should write it on your post-it note and put it on your refrigerator, but as a backup plan.
Totally will do that.
So thank you, Jim. See, here's the power of the community. Here's the answer. Just have people show up to Voices of HealthPointe. Tell them they don't even have to get out of bed. What was it, Laurel, that said in the early days, you just, put your earbuds in and, off, muted and off camera and just, come into the sessions like that. By the way, guys, this is another thing that people only come to based on an invite. This is not like you were talking about, Carol, about WhatsApp. People can't find that, nor should they be able to find that from just cruising around in the wilds of the internet. The only way people will find themselves inside this domain is if somebody that's already connected wants them to, offers it to them, and shares that with them. This is not something where we want, 10 million visitors ever, quite frankly. This is where kind of a close-knit group gets to, be together, during a specific time as like-minded individuals. And sure, I'm not saying we don't want to grow. Of course we can grow, but it's not going to grow by just, wild kittens out there jumping in. It comes from, hey, you like this person, they like the content, you're like-minded. Hey, here's a link if you'd like to join live. They're welcome. But there's I certainly don't, post this randomly for people in the wild just to come in, and we don't, of course, invite that at all.
It's the same thing with the HealthPointe Eats. You have to be invited in. So be sure and see your coach, because it's not a big deal to be invited in. And we do want you invited in. But like Eric said, we don't want this an Instagram thing that 1,000 people are coming in.
Right. Yep. Yeah, certainly. Anybody that's on the 6-week cycle is being coached. This would make sense in most cases for them to have this as a resource for them. So, well, good fun. Sounds like a topic. I know the topic resonated with me, and I, never sure on these things if it just resonates with me, or if it resonated with everyone else. It sounds like it did. There's just something that is so attractive about, like, that's an irritating feeling, and then realizing, wait, the science says we want that. It's necessary. And it's still going to be agitating and irritating, but at least now we know we can kind of put it in its place, and just know that it's our norepinephrine getting sassy with us. So with that, let's keep it moving. And Kathy, we're over to you on words of walking wisdom. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning, everybody. It's so great to be with everybody. I just want to do a really quick shout out to my girl, Jeremica Harris. She's back with us. She had a surgery and she's recovered, and she's ready to be part of our community again. And so happy to have her with us today. And just had to shout her out and welcome her back. So we're so glad that you're back with us, Jeremica, and nothing but good things for 2026. That's for certain. So with that being said, I've had the pleasure to coach her in the past, and looking forward to, like I said, a strong, healthy 2026 for everybody. And as we know, one of the big tenets of our HealthPointe success is walking. And today, just a little side note, we are back to 180 days consecutive again after the root canal incident back in June that blew the 3.5-year streak. But that's okay. And as I did share on our lean team Monday night a couple weeks ago, that when I was walking, my Pacer app came up and told me that I had shaved 8.2 years off of my age. So I'm only 47.8 years old instead of 56. So there really is something to be said about the power of walking. But I found this quote, and again, another plug, are the amazing book, Atomic Habits. If you have not read it, I would say within the past year or two, and you have it on your shelf, pull it out. We're starting a new year. It's a great time to kind of refresh your frame of mind for setting habits. And of course, as we know, HealthPointe is definitely habit forming and habit based. And I subscribe to James Clear. He has a weekly email that he sends out. And he sent this in one of his emails. I don't know, it was a while ago. I've shared it before on a Lean Team Zoom, but I was hoping to get to it, but we didn't get to it with our Lean Team Zoom. So I thought, you know what, it'd be a good time to share it on the Walk and Talk, since it's about walking. So it's just a quick quote, and it's by the theologian and philosopher Soren Kierkegaard on the power of walking. Above all, do not lose your desire to walk. Every day I walk myself into a state of well-being and walk away from every illness. I have walked myself into my best thoughts, and I know of no thoughts so burdensome that one cannot walk away from it. Even if one were to walk for one's health, and it were constantly one station ahead, I would still say walk. That's right, shave those years off your life. Besides, it is also apparent that in walking, one constantly gets as close to well-being as possible. Even if one does not quite reach it, progress, not perfection, but by sitting still, and the more one sits still, the closer one becomes to feeling ill. We've heard that. Health and salvation can be found only in motion. If one just keeps on walking, everything will be all right. So with that being said, I just say from the Step Queen to everybody else, keep walking. Thanks.
Wow. Thanks, Kathy. That was beautiful. It's just, it was written in a manner it was meant to be beautiful, but as you were reading that, it's just very beautifully written, of course, and so much wisdom in that. I love that there isn't a problem that I mean, we use the phrase walking away from your problems, but in this context, that's a good thing. You want to be walking. Great stuff. And such it's a tenet of the HealthPointe 6-week cycle program. And so it's absolutely worth visiting. Jim,
there was a little one-liner that she snuck in there. Sitting still can make you ill. I think that's something we need to write down as a reminder.
Mm-hmm.
Those little one-liners sometimes are easier to remember.
Yep. Yeah. Writing it down. Sitting still can make you ill.
Hey, Eric, this is Steve. Got a quick.
Hey, Steve.
How you doing this morning?
Doing well.
One thing I wanted to touch on, because we know how vitally important walking is. But there's one thing that always sticks in my mind that not only came from Dr. Stu Min not too long ago, but also back when we first started, early 2000s, working with HealthPointe, what Dr. Ted Beto also said is that it's not just walking, but it is movement. So if somebody has an injury, leg, foot, or whatever, and they can't walk, it's movement of the major joints, the knees, the hips, elbows, shoulders, that kind of thing is what builds mitochondria. I remember Ted Beto saying that, they had clients wear pedometers, and they found that the ones that wore pedometers, of course, were twice as successful at getting the weight off as those that did not in the early days. But he said what some of the clients would do to try to fool the nurses and whatnot at the clinic, they would take their
Oh, I'm not sure if it's just me or if we just lost you, Steve. Can anyone else hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We lost Steve.
Okay.
Am I there now?
Yes, you're here, and you cut off right where it was a cliffhanger moment where you're talking about what people would do to try to fool the nurses on their pedometer.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. Technology, wonderful, isn't it? Except when you need it. Anyhow, he said that they would take that pedometer and they would move, shake their arm back and forth, getting the pedometer to move and make it look like they were getting steps in. But he said, really, they were fooling themselves, because he said the movement of the major joints is what is going to create more mitochondria in the cellular structure. So, walking is fabulous. We also be doing it, obviously. But if somebody, for whatever reason, gets incapacitated and their walking is not possible, move those major joints. If they can get on a stationary bike, or if they can swim, or if they can just do some kind of exercises where they're moving the major joints, that also is a plus if they can't walk. So just thought I'd throw that out there.
Great reminder. Thanks for that, Steve. Great reminder. Because there might be people out there that, look initially at the HealthPointe program and just focus in on that walking and maybe some limitations that they have. Maybe there's something from a joint standpoint, a knee, as Steve was talking about. But as Steve was mentioning, there's other options. There's swimming. There's less impact type walking, like an elliptical, if they have access to that. Different choices. It's a great reminder because it's not about walking specifically. That's what works for a lot of people, of course, and it's very sustainable. It doesn't matter if you're traveling or if you don't have access to a gym or you don't have things like that at your home. Pretty much any place, anywhere, anytime. The other thing, you can age with walking. Are you going to do certain types of strength training, in this decade is the same as you would in, 2-3 decades from now, maybe not, but walking is very sustainable as we age. But with certain limitations or pain or joint issues, great point, Steve. It's not about having to do specifically walking. It's, moving those major muscles and joints. Fantastic. Thank you, Steve, and thanks for navigating your technical glitch there. Laurel, we got a hand up by Laurel. Good morning.
Yeah, I was just, well, here, let me turn my video here. I was just going to say that I needed to hear that about 3 years ago because literally I think the biggest thing that kept me from really getting serious about HealthPointe was the 10,000 steps, 5 before breakfast. It just, I shut down as soon as I heard that because of what you just said, the limitations. And so it's funny because I have found with myself when people say, well, what are you doing? Or are you on a diet or whatever? And I tend to say, that, well, no, I'm just eating right and moving more. And I think the word move, I know I have my neighbor who's just started up with us and she's in her 80s and she doesn't have a lot to lose, but she can't walk very well. She's got tremors and things. And so, I never say anything about walking. I always talk about moving, and she does move well. She walks around the house. And I think that just from my own experience, using the word movement, and we can, not to discount walking, but I think to say, especially someone who's not very active, whether you know it or not, but to say, HealthPointe really focuses on the walking. It's very important. That's our movement of choice. And that's what we encourage. But just like Steve said, moving the major joints of the body more than you have. And I will tell you that I'm at 70-pound loss, and I can count probably less than a month worth since January. If I add up all the total days that I've done 10,000, I'm not proud of that. It's just what it is, but it still works. And because I do move a lot. And so anyway, I just thought that's a good thing for us to remember because I know personally, it kept me out longer than I should. And I just wrote my Christmas letter, which goes out to lots of people, about 150 people. And I thought, how am I going to describe that? And that's what I just said. I said, I started in January eating clean and moving more, taking my nutritional supplements and getting healthy at a cellular level. And that's what I put. So we'll see. But that really does describe it in a nutshell. So anyway, that's it. That's my input.
Wow, Laurel. I'm so glad that you shared, and I know you shared this a bit last week, but shared again on the number. I just want to emphasize close to 70 pounds down. And when you came on camera, I don't know if it's just a different angle or what it is. I don't know if anybody else was struck by this. It's almost like a before and after picture that I'm looking at. You have, I mean, it makes sense with 70 pounds, but my gosh, girl, you look different and you look wonderful.
Looks awesome, Laurel.
It's more than 70 pounds. It's a transformation. Laurel has a transformation occurring. And that's not just one thing. That's a lot of things.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, thanks. It's, it's certainly, I was trying to going on that were bigger than walking through the gate that I don't even think I noticed that I was uncomfortable. I was miserable, and nothing to do with
that was
nothing.
hers.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the, oh, is that me? You lost me?
We did just for a minute, but we can hear you now, I think. Yep.
Okay.
We lost your video, but I think there's something in the air this Saturday as far as our so.
Oh, well.
There we go. Yeah, we can hear you. We can see you. Yes.
Oh, well, my son came in the back door and was talking to my husband. I thought, oh, I got to get out of the kitchen. I'm making noise. So, but anyway, it just, it's certainly been not I don't know what the typical experience for HealthPointe is, but mine's sure been weird, but it still works. So whatever.
It's the guidance from Carol and Hank, I think, is probably.
There you go.
It's a decision from Laurel.
Yeah, well, was a decision long in coming, but it worked. So
Okay,
Yeah.
and you don't falter. Laurel has had more unique experiences than her. I told she's got to just journalize everything because the weird stuff that has gone on since last January with her, her body, and whatever else.
Dog bites.
Oh yeah, to name one.
dog bites and shins being filleted, and
Oh,
yeah, no hands that don't work. Al told me I couldn't write anything about that in the Christmas letter. Not that I really wanted to anyway, but he said, don't mention any of that. So
Wow. Well, again, just so great to kind of just have you come on camera and maybe just a different camera angle. I mean, you've been on Walk and Talk a bit here, but I don't know, it was just something different. I was like, what? Look at Laurel there. She is
well, it's been so
looking.
cold. I usually have my hooded sweatshirt on. So, my girlfriend said, she goes, where'd your neck go? I go, I don't know. I'm not sure. So anyway, okay, that's all.
Well, again, congratulations. We can do these docket items and points and pontificate on things, but man, oh man, it's totally about the example, and you are an incredible example. 70 pounds and just feeling great, and it hasn't been easy street. You have embraced the gate, I'm sure, on a number of occasions, and that example is what it's all about. And yeah, if your Christmas cards have, or people have any ability in your Christmas card or looking someplace else where they see any kind of before and after of you, you better watch out. You're going to have a lot of people.
Well, I put in a
you.
photo page of all the family pictures of me and everything we did, a whole page of photos. And there were some I thought, oh, I can't put that in there. And Al goes, that's exactly why you got to put that in there. So anyway, but it's definitely been worth it, and I'm still plugging along. And just to celebrate, I hit a new low today for the first time, so it's still working, even during the holidays. So,
and Laurel, what was your total length of time to get that off?
I started last year, January 12th, with that first cohort or cycle that we did. So
Okay,
January 12th to now. So
that's what I thought. And here, I thought you were just using your skinny lens on your phone, but that's good.
Yeah, right. Oh, is there such a thing? Well, I would have saved me a lot of time. Okay.
Fabulous. Good job.
All right. Thank you.
Great stuff. Well, moving on to Debbie Llewellyn.
Eric, I'm going to defer my topic to another time. I want to spend the rest of the time congratulating you and your accomplishment. So I think I'm applauding you. That is
that's too bad. I wanted to hear hers.
Oh, we can do it next Saturday.
What's the time?
Okay, I can do the Cliff Notes version of my article, and then we can congratulate Eric. This was from an endocrinologist, and I guess I get Google alerts all the time on different topics that I've set up. And the reason that this was curious is because we probably all know someone who is taking a GLP-1. And in our conversations with them, and like Hank is always saying, ask a question. Well, it occurred to me that you can encounter someone who is taking one, and they may not be interested at the moment, but you can ask them, what is your plan for when you stop? Because that is the key thing. A celebrity certainly can keep paying for the drug, but the average person cannot continue to pay for these weight loss drugs, and they probably don't realize what's going on when they stop. And the endocrinologist said there's a spike in hunger, increased food noise, weight gain, rapid rise in blood sugar, and gastrointestinal symptoms, including nausea or changes in our bowel movements. And so she said the number one mistake in stopping is that you don't have a solid game plan. HealthPointe is a game plan for when people are going off these drugs. She said GLP-1s help reduce hunger signals and delay gastric emptying, which makes you feel full after consuming a small portion of food. When you stop taking these meds, and makes great sense that their effects will diminish. She said, build a plan while you're still on the medication. Here's what you can do. She encourages patients to use a predictable eating pattern with balanced meals, establish a consistent physical activity routine, identify personal triggers. Isn't this what we've always been talking about? For overeating or cravings, and work with a metabolic care provider to plan and taper transition. And then they also talked about, they had a link that talked about supplements that you should be taking. The endocrinologist didn't write that, but she said the pharmacist recommended nutritional supplements. But at the beginning of the article, when I clicked on the pharmaceutical recommendations, the nutrients, I didn't know this, and maybe someone else can prove this right or wrong. It said, healthcare professionals stress the importance of maintaining muscle mass as you slim down. The reason is simple. Adults naturally lose 3 to 8% of lean muscle every decade after reaching 30 years of age. Weight loss can speed up the process. Regular strength training should be a top priority, but that's not all. Also taking supplements. So, the first thing I thought was muscle multiplier you could recommend to somebody. And then it talks about multivitamins, B12, protein supplement. We have that. And then they were just saying take supplements wisely. So I guess the key is when I was actually out shopping and I started talking to the person behind me, and I wish this had occurred to me myself. We both talked about how we had lost weight, but I didn't ask her what she was doing because she said she had lost 40 pounds. And so the question is, what's your plan? Like if you're taking a GLP-1, what is your plan? Do you have a plan to maintain your progress? And so that is the key, I believe, from all of this, is that, yeah, it's working while you're on it, but when you go off it, all hell can break loose. So it's HealthPointe is going to help you maintain that. Because how many times have you seen celebrities, Oprah included, and I'll include myself, where you're on something for a period of time and you have the success, and then afterwards the weight gradually comes back on. So you need something that goes beyond where you think you're stopping. That's it.
So glad you chose to go through that. And I heard a shout out, everybody, we had you teed up, and we know it's such a powerful topic and a powerful docket item. And we all would have been on pins and needles waiting till next week to hear that. Debbie, that is fantastic. And no doubt, as you're going through that, and then you're going through those different points, we're just going, HealthPointe, 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 right in there. Anybody else on this? I know it resonated with, all of us. Great, great content. So glad you went through that. Well, I'll just continue to comment on something. For one thing, it made me think of somebody. That's probably the most notable thing. It made me think of somebody. I have some people that I'm coaching that are on GLPs, but it made me think of someone that I had talked to a while back that is on GLP and that I can circle back to. So looking forward to that. And then I think, there's to that point, there's a big marketplace, where we can, I think for a while, going back to 2023, I'll just speak for myself. My first reaction was to totally stiff arm GLPs, to be very negative in, almost attacking on it. I still maintain some of that, but I also maybe have morphed to where I see I can come alongside and help people that are on this. They're making the best choice that they feel that they can at the time. But, I termed a phrase Ozempic anxiety to speak, to what your article is talking about, Debbie, because it was talking with somebody that, as I was unpacking her journey, and to your point, Debbie, about what's going to happen when this is no longer covered by insurance and she's got to fork out very substantial amount of money to stay on this, and really hasn't built any healthy habits, doesn't have the education, doesn't have the coaching. There was this almost like this feeling of like, Niagara Falls is up ahead. I can hear the roaring water. I'm going to go over that edge in a couple of months, and I've got no plan. So that is a great article. And I know for myself, I will, rather than asking for the article from you, Debbie, I will just say, when I re-listen to this episode, I'll mark the point. We know it's about that towards the end of the episode, maybe around minute 50 or 55. I can share that over with somebody and just say, hey, here's a link to a video, and just thumb scroll it forward to around 50, 55 on the hour-long episode, because there's a great piece in there by Debbie on the GLP-1s, perspective from an endocrinologist. So thank you, Debbie. Great stuff. Anybody else as we're wrapping up here?
I wouldn't mind having a copy of that article, though, just in my, whoops, dropped my headphone.
I emailed it to Carol
Yeah,
and to
I have
David.
it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Excellent.
well, we can email that out to everybody. And again, these are wonderful things that we can even shoot out directly over to our WhatsApp group. And what it does is it targets where you might overlook something, it targets it a little stronger too. So we might be thinking about using that app in addition to heavily target. And I thought what Debbie said was when the person said they lost the weight, and the beautiful question that she was going to pose was, what is your plan for keeping that success? Simple question, non-intrusive, but it creates a conversation going back and forth. So,
And I thank Hank for that, because listening to Hank, he always said, ask a question.
yeah,
I wish I had thought of it when I was leaving the store, but I didn't until just now.
there's a great book that Hank always refers to by Alan Pease. Questions are the answers. And the more questions you ask, the more then you know how to continue that conversation going. He, in all of our counseling sessions with various people, he's always going back to that same point, and it's so true.
I've just thought up a new nickname for Hank, the Question King. Hank
There
is the
you
Question
go.
King.
All
It's
right,
so
guys.
true.
Before we close the session, Carol, let's recognize Eric's accomplishment, okay? We haven't done that yet.
We are definitely going to do that, and I want to do that as the wrap up of the program today. We are so indebted to Eric for his diligence in putting these fabulous Saturday mornings together, and we always knew he was brilliant. But we just received a notification, and it's a certification, National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching, attests that Eric Rashi has passed the Health and Wellness Coach certifying examination and fulfilled all the requirements of the board, and is hereby granted the title of National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach. And he was board certified since December 1st, 2025. So I think everybody should unmute themselves and give a great big rounding applause to Eric and all his hard work and his diligence, not only with the certification, but all he does on Saturday morning. So thank you,
Well
Eric.
done. Well done,
Thank
Eric.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Bravo.
Way to
Good
go,
job,
sir.
Eric.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
proud of you.
Thank
Thank you.
Awesome.
Great job. I went.
Thank you for
Thank you,
always
guys.
sharing your nuggets of knowledge with us.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Yeah, I just appreciate it. It was a lot of hard work, but pretty enjoyable process. But I just want to reiterate just something that we were I commented in the preamble that this started with HealthPointe. My journey, Emily and I, our journey, foundation is Network 21. Thank goodness for the leadership of Network 21 to get the HealthPointe program going. Thank goodness for the wonderful people around the globe that have really leveraged the HealthPointe model and helped thousands and thousands of people get healthier. Because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have gone down these different rabbit trails of education and certification. I've just found a real fascination and love of this space, and it's so rewarding. But I just want to emphasize that this is all about HealthPointe. HealthPointe came first. It's the foundation. And thank you to Network 21, the Dornans, the leadership to bring this to all of us. And thanks to all of you. I can remember, Carol, I'm trying to think of who was our little group of, people, as we started our Saturday morning. It was just, we had to scratch an itch. We're like, great. We just need to talk with somebody about these concepts and helping. And so, just so thanks everyone. This is a fun community. We're helping a lot of people. And but thanks for the recognition on the board certification. Really appreciate that. So, well, we've done it again. We've had an absolute hoot, a ball. We've gotten educated. We've gotten inspired. Everyone that's celebrating Christmas, we've got Christmas week coming up next week. Have a great, joyous occasion. I'm sure all of us will. And then, as far as I know, we're planning on being back here next Saturday. Is that correct, Carol?
Yes, that's correct. We'll skip Monday night lean team. Have you all get prepared for Christmas, and then yes, Saturday morning we'll be back on track.
Right on. Okay, and we'll close out the year next week. But until then, we'll see everyone next time, next Saturday, same time, same place. Till then, bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Pay it forward, everybody. Pay it
Happy
forward.
holidays.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry